Yo, welcome back to a new video. This is the series where I read a chapter of a new book every single day and I come and tell you guys exactly what I've learned so that you guys don't have to do the reading yourself. So today I'm actually summarizing a whole book. The book is called As A Man Thinketh, and to be fair, I read it all in one day. It's a Sunday today, so I just whizzed through the whole book. Can't be more than like 90 pages. But yeah, I'll be honest, it's probably the shortest book I've read since I've started this whole series, but it's definitely the most impactful one, for sure. I learned a few key lessons, and yeah, man, we're about to get into it. So, essentially, the basis of the book, right, is your external circumstances are a direct reflection of what's going on in your mind. Basically, everything starts with your thoughts, right? Because first you think, and then you do, and then what you do on a consistent basis becomes your external environment. So one of the main points that the guy spoke about is your mind is like a garden, right? So you got to think of your mind as a garden, and that actually makes a lot of sense. To be fair, he spoke about basically, a garden. If you leave a garden unattended, you don't try and nurture it, plant the right seeds, trim it where it needs to be trimmed. Thorns and weeds are just gonna grow everywhere, right? It's gonna look nasty, and you don't really need to put any effort into growing a garden that's like super unkept. You just don't look after it, let it go haywire, and boom, it's just gonna evolve into a really ugly garden. And that's similar to our thoughts, right? You see, if you keep filling your mind with junk, negative thoughts, things you see on social media, things that aren't really beneficial, it's just gonna blossom. All these thoughts are just gonna circulate in your mind, blossom, turn into the weeds and thorns, right? And it's like when I say negative thoughts, it's like, unpure thoughts, jealousy, hate, disappointment in yourself, and those thoughts lead you to do stuff like, drug addictions, alcohol addictions, things like that. Bad habits that create negative circumstances where you might be in a crazy emotional state. So you do something horrible that changes the trajectory of your whole life, right? So it all starts with your thoughts. Eventually, your thoughts, you can't really hide your thoughts. Like, all of your thoughts have been manifested in your actions in one way or another. You can't really hide them. And if you try it, eventually it will come out anyway, right? But on the flip side, if you are a gardener who actually takes care of his garden, which is your mind, right? You feed it the right kind of seeds, you help cultivate them, help them grow, etc., etc. So if you plant the right seeds, it's gonna blossom to a beautiful garden. And that means that the external, right? You fill your mind with good positive thoughts, things that are constructive, that are gonna help you to do the right things. Then long term, your circumstances are going to reflect your inner thoughts, because the bridge between your thoughts and your circumstances are actions, right? It's what you've been doing the whole time. And it's similar to atomic habits, right? The reason you are here where you are, right, where you are now, is you are basically the sum of all your thoughts that you've had up until now. Now, atomic habits takes the angle of, you know, you're the sum of all your habits that you do, but your habits are shaped by your thoughts, right? It always starts with your thoughts, what's in your mind. Like, to do anything, you need to think about it first, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. And if it's subconscious, these are like the beliefs that you've had in your mind that's caused you to do this subconsciously, right? And it also touches a little bit on manifesting and you really being able to attract things that you think about. So if you're always thinking about poverty, negative stuff, desperation, misery, that's the stuff you're going to attract. But if you think about positivity and put yourself in that kind of atmosphere, then that's what you're going to attract as well. And I guess this part of it, the whole manifesting thing, I know there's a bit of controversy around that. You know how it's super like wishy-washy, etc. I know it's been debunked a few times, but you know, I never turn my nose up at things that could potentially help me look at things in a more positive way, right? If it's gonna help me, then I'd rather believe it than try and find a way to disprove it and just sit there in doom and despair, right? If it's gonna help me move forward, then I'd rather believe in it. Now, another thing he talks about, like in terms of the power of your thoughts, right, in this book, is dreaming big. So when you actually think about it, each great achievement in life that anyone's ever done always started as a thought, as a dream, right? So it shows how strong the power of the mind is. Like literally, the mind is powerful enough to create. It's created the world around us, right? Everything we see around us that's man-made started from a thought. So all your thoughts will lead to, you taking the appropriate actions, and then eventually you're gonna reach the summit of your quest, whatever it is, right? He talks about he says a story about, like, let's say for example, one day you're a sheep's herdsman, because this book was written in the 1900s, right? But let's say you're herding sheep, right? But you're not the main sheep herder. You've been doing it for a while, and then one day the master or the owner of the farm says, like, this is your flock. I've got no more things to teach you. Like, this is all you now, right? All that started from a thought. And if you keep putting in the consistent action, you're going to reach the summit, and you're going to achieve whatever quest you set out to achieve in life. For me, it's to be like a 99 overall in all areas of life, just to be a super all-rounded person. But it obviously all starts with thoughts. I can't achieve that if that's not what I'm thinking about, right? If that's not what's on my mind, I'm not going to set out a plan to do it. I'm not going to do the habits that are going to get me there, and it's not going to happen eventually, right? And then the book ends on, like, talking about serenity, right? And this is actually, this hit home for sure, because there's another book that I'm reading right now called The Untethered Soul, and basically it talks about being detached from, you know, the planet, like things that happen, every day that you get sucked into, that you get drawn into, and it allows you to take a seat of objectivity where you're just able to realize that you're your consciousness just observing life as it goes on, right? You are not your thoughts, but you really need to just be aware of, why do I feel like this? Why is this happening? So you can control your thoughts and set yourself free, right? So the Untethered Soul talks about, it explains that you're not your thought, you're the consciousness that's aware of them. And this book talks about, you are not your thoughts, but your thoughts become your reality, right? So they kind of tackle the issue of thoughts and, your soul, your consciousness, from two different angles. I know I mentioned thoughts a lot there, but I hope that makes sense. But essentially, serenity is the defining character of a man who's in his final form. And that actually did hit home to me. It kind of feels like on anime, right? Someone has, like, their final form, Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan God, whatever. But being, like, reaching serenity is when you're just calm enough with, yourself, you're at peace, and you can control the winds and the storm of the mind. That's how he describes it. And you can bend the winds and the storms of your mind to your will. But obviously this takes years of experience to not be super reactive, to control your thoughts and use them to bend your reality, right? So yeah, just to recap, the moral of the book is to see yourself as a gardener, that's looking after your garden. Cultivate it, look after it, protect your mind, feed it with the right nutrients, and it will show from your circumstances. So that's all for today. Catch you guys tomorrow.